To all those people watching, I'd like to remind everyone that this video is not made for kids. It's for older fans and adults. Enjoy the fucking video! A long time ago, before the formation of the North Western Railway, the island of Sodor had three different railway lines. There was the Sodor mainland, and the Wellsworth and Sudbury, and the third line was called the Elsbridge Knapford Railway. The line was horse-drawn. They take trucks of lead from the mines to the harbour at Knapford, but lately it had become rather costly due to constant dredging at the harbour, and they have no idea what to do to overcome this problem. "Excuse me, gentlemen," replied a man, "but I think the best idea is to abandon the harbour here and extend the line to Tidmouth." This was Mr. Arthur William Dry, the manager of his company, A.W. Dry. "To Tidmouth?" replied the manager of the mines. "Yes," replied Mr. Dry. "The harbour there is deep and well sheltered, and a safe place to ride out storms. It's perfect for the mines." "Splendid," replied the mine manager. "I'm sure our horses are capable of this run." "Horses, you say?" asked Dry. "Yes. Is there a problem?" replied the manager. "Well, the thing is, the line would not be appropriate for them due to the length of the track." This left the mine manager with some apprehension. "But we have a solution," replied Mr. Dry. "We have a new engineer from Swindon going by the name of Topham, and he suggested using locomotion for this run. He believes that it's the future of the tramway." "Locomotion, you say? I better speak with my colleagues about this. Thanks for your advice, and I'll let you know what they say. Take care, Mr. Dry." If you ever visit the island of Sodor and are interested in the stories from the various railways, then you should visit the Railway Archives. It's a treasure trove of stories over the years with all of the engines across the island of Sodor, big or small. Let's take a look at all the stories that are a blast from the past for the engines of Sodor. Topham had moved to the island of Sodor from Swindon on the mainland to work as an engineer for A.W. Dry. He was tasked to build an engine for the Elsbridge Knapford Railway to showcase the mining company that it's the way of the future. He built two engines, but they ended up being broken or given out over the years. The mining company were apprehensive about the idea of locomotion due to cost, but had given Topham chances. However, they told him that this would be his last. But Topham had remained optimistic and tried to repair his faults, and one year he made an engine that he thought would change the minds of the company. One day the board of the mining company had come to the workshops to see Topham's latest engine. "Gentlemen, may I introduce to you to my latest engine, Glyn." "Hello," announced the new engine. As expected, the board were pleased, but they decided to see how the workmen at the mines would react. The men were called, and they were surprised by the look of this new machine backing towards them. "Gentlemen, you are witnessing what is the future of our company," declared the manager. "This engine is called Glyn," added Topham proudly. Some of the men were impressed and thought it would be an excellent replacement for the horses, but some weren't. "Is this what is supposed to replace our horses?" said one of the workmen crossly. "What's wrong with horses?" added another. "What will happen if that thing broke like Topham's other failures?" cried another workman, and everyone laughed. Topham was cross, but he remained calm and said, "My other locomotives may not have lasted long, but this engine is different. This engine could carry loads up to 100 tons. But his detractors still weren't convinced. "Rubbish," one of them said. "The horses are fine. Didn't you learn the saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it?" "Hey, give him a chance, mate," replied a supporter. "You haven't seen what this new engine could do yet, and you all just fearing something that hasn't been proven its worth yet. You're just scared of new things. The horses will still be here." Of course what he said was true, but the detractors were stubborn and didn't want to be proven wrong. Then one of them had an idea. "How about a race? We'll have that coffee pot thing against one of the horses and see who is better." Then they all turned to Topham, who was still annoyed that the detractors had been insulting his new engine. He then said, "You're on." Everyone cheered, but the manager was concerned. "Topham, are you mad?" he said crossly. If I want to prove to your men that my engine is the path forward for this tramway, then yes I am. You could lose this. If something happens to your engine, then you know there won't be another chance. I know, but I'm willing to take risks. The race brought great excitement across the line. All the workmen, staff, their families and some villagers all crowded around Glyn and a horse, coupled with wagons full of lead ready for the first load to the harbour. We will win this. Then one of the detractors stood between the two. Ladies and gentlemen, he declared, today is an auspicious occasion. You are all here witnessing a special race that determines the future of our transport. On the left, we have Barley, one of our horses, and on the right we have this contraption known as Glyn the Coffee Pot. Now, the first to get to the harbour and back is declared the winner, and thus will determine the future travel of our lead. So when I wave this flag, the race will begin. On your marks, get set, go! Glyn puffed away as the horse trotted alongside with a heavy load. Glyn led on with full determination as he puffed further and further away from the horse. Ha! Looks like we're winning, sir, he said as the detractors looked on in anger and anguish. But as they came to the line leading towards the branch line, the driver was trying to feed water to the tanks. But something was wrong. The water! It can't get through! Called the driver. I don't feel well, he huffed, and so he had to stop. He's stopping! Shouted one of the detractors, and they all cheered as Barley the horse trotted alongside him and had passed. Looks like Topham's futuristic idea is dead, and they all laughed rudely and loudly. Topham looked towards them crossly. The mine manager sighed and said, he knows what will come next. They shut off Glyn's steam, and once he was cooled, they looked all around him to find the problem. Then they found it. It's the injector! It's jammed! Replied the driver. Jammed? Asked Topham in surprise. Oh dear, oh dear. He groaned as he thought what he had gotten himself into. Then the detractors came and hurled some insults towards Topham until the mine manager told them to stop the noise. Topham Hatt, I'm happy to see that you were willing to help with our future, but your locomotives hadn't been living up to expectations. I'm sorry, but I have to... Wait a minute, Mr. Smith. I have something to tell you. The driver had found the problem with Glyn. He had a blocked injector which could easily be fixed. I know you said that this would be my last chance, but please reconsider the idea. I demand a rematch since the outcome is so unfair. If the manager says that this was your last chance, then it is, shouted another detractor. Go on, get out of here and take that coffee pot with you. Everyone laughed. Silence, called the mine manager. He then looked towards Topham. Very well, Topham, he said with a smile. You should have your rematch. The supporters cheered while the detractors jeered. But sir, you had your word. Well, sometimes a mind can be changed, you know, replied the manager, and he walked away with a smirk amongst his face. That Topham is truly an optimist. He reminds me of myself when I was his age. The detractors went back to work, still annoyed by the idea of a rematch. It'll break down again, that's for sure, cried one of them crossly, but Topham didn't care what they thought. We'll show them again, Glyn, he said with determination. We'll fix your injector, and we'll take you to the workshops to see what else could need improvement. But aren't I the future, sir? Why do I need improvement? Asked Glyn, confused. Just because you're the future, Glyn, doesn't mean you're done, chuckled Topham. In no time the injector was fixed, and Glyn was taken to the works. The workmen looked all over him and found some things that were in need of improvement. At last a rematch was on. And this time, Glyn had actually won the race. Everyone cheered and the manager spoke with the board of the mining company. He then stood next to Topham Hatt. It has been decided, declared the manager. From this day forward, the tramway will now be steam-powered. There was another round of cheers and applause, while the detractors sighed in defeat. More of the coffee pot engines were built while Glyn was kept as a spare just in case. The line to Tidmouth had been expanded and was then called the Tidmouth, Knapford and Elsbridge Light Railway, and Glyn was given the honour of pulling the first train there. The horses remained at the mine as they helped to shunt the trucks ready for Glyn and the other coffee pot engines. Glyn wasn't fond of the nickname at first, but over time it began to stick to him, and he saw the funny side of it all. Meanwhile, Topham Hatt became an engineer for the railway line, and eventually he later became the controller of the Northwestern Railway until he passed away at the age of 76. So many changes had happened on the island of Sodor as well as the world, but the legacy of Sir Topham Hatt I still remains with Glenn, who could be seen running around the castle area at Ulstead giving tours of the castle out to the visitors. And Topham, a replica of Glenn that had once shared his name at the Railway Museum. Glenn would often share his stories to visitors at the castle, including the one of his race with the horse. He would also share the wisdom of Sir Topham Hatt to visitors as well.